is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
The following is a paid political announcement by the Caymanian Community Party.
The PPM had their turn. What did we get? Exploding population, soaring cost of living, secret deals, an unfair immigration system. You're scraping by while they help their friends cash in. You tighten your belt while they blow money on vanity projects. Enough is enough. The Caymanian Community Party is different. We will make sure Caymanians have an opportunity in our own country. No side deals, no shady alliances. On April 30th, vote TCCP for a stronger, fairer Cayman.
That was a paid political message by the Caymanian Community Party.
Say yes to progress, yes to jobs. Yes to peers that help our youth. Don't let fear decide the way. Vote yes to cruise on referendum day. Vote yes to cruise on referendum day.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm having a conversation with the Cayman Islands National Party candidate for Georgetown West, Craig Merren. And you said before we run out of time here, you wanted to turn your attention back to the constituency of Georgetown West.
Yeah.
So it's all yours.
Yeah. Well, Georgetown West constituencies, just want to tell you that I will be around in the area from this evening, meeting some of you, going home to home. We're going to be making some calls. I want you to come out tonight to our rally at the L. Thompson parking lot and meet me if you haven't yet. Give me a call at 345-938-7827. Please come out tonight, meet me in person. If you want to talk about anything, you can call me. You can meet me in person. I would love to hear from you. And I want to continue my relationship with you leading up on April the 30th, and looking forward to your support 100%. And on May the 1st, we got a lot of work to do, and I want you to know that I'll be doing it 100%. I've always been honored to represent this country, represent you for many years. I want to represent you on this higher level as your MP, and to deliver the many things that we've discussed in your homes, and where you have embraced me, where you have shown me your vision in what you would like for your family and for your country. And I just want you to know, I'll be by your side today, tomorrow, on April the 30th, and on May the 1st, for another 4 years, God's willing.
Now you say you've gone to people's homes.
Yes.
What are some of the more pressing things that because I know people open up to candidates when you go to them.
When you go on a one-on-one, and you hear the issues that they have. If it's about if they're the cost of living, if it's food.
You get a more personal perspective.
You really get It's sad. It's actually when you hear some of the issues that people have, some families with, what's there to me, the mental issues that many people have, families have, and what they've discovered now, because you have so much medical reports on the findings of these different challenges that they have. And also that is also mental challenges actually could come in under pressure of their lives. They lost a job, they're not making enough. That stresses you out. That stresses me out sometimes.
Yeah. So you hear a lot about mental health.
Yes, you do. And I have a family member that also have challenges, and you have to deal with that, and you have to embrace it. And they're special too, and they also have to have opportunities like anyone else. And they're bright, they're smart. They're part of our society. So we need to, in the Cayman National Party, we want to strengthen that. We want to embrace that. We want to work with Sunrise Adult Training Center, Inclusion Cayman, and as well as schools, private and public schools. We need to find special teachers that understand these challenges that one might have, and you normally kind of see those you normally could see those at between about 3 or 5. It all depends. So we have to prepare for these things, challenges that families have. It's a real thing. So it's something that's very dear to me, and it's something that I really want to highlight. And find the solutions and find the support for many of those, even those that where the insurance don't even they can't get insurance for certain medications. So that is something that Cayman National Party going to be looking at as well. Where do they get that support, especially when it comes to the type of medication that they need?
Are you getting a lot of feedback from younger people?
Yes, a lot. I have my campaign manager, and of course, just knowing them through sports and families and stuff, you get a lot of where they have concern with their jobs and opportunities for them. And they ain't joking. These what I used to say years ago, 20, 25 years ago, I say you wait till the new batch arrive. The new batch has arrived. And they ain't joking, and they want opportunities for them, and it needs to be, and that's something that Craig Merren will do for Georgetown West constituency and the Greater Cayman Islands National Party, to make sure that every Caymanian from the age of 5 to the age of 95 will have the opportunities and support that they need in education, housing, food, security, and as well as protection, right down to transportation and education.
Craig Merren, National Party candidate for Georgetown West, thank you so much for joining us here and talk today. And I guess you're getting ready for the big rally tonight. Yeah, getting ready for the big rally. So you all remember, come on out at the L. Thompson parking lot at 7 p.m. and looking forward to your support on April the 30th. Craig T. Merren, number 3 on your ballot. Number 3 will set you free. So vote for unity, prosperity, and hope. Vote for the change for you and what you want it to be. God bless you all, and thank you. It's 1 o'clock, and that means it's news time.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The Central Planning Authority will be meeting tomorrow instead of Wednesday because of the general elections and referendum. Airport renovations, a new rugby pitch, and a new apartment complex are just a few of the applications up for discussion at the bi-monthly meeting. You can find the agenda online at planning.ky. In international headlines, Russian President Vladimir Putin declares a unilateral 72-hour ceasefire next week in Ukraine to mark Victory Day in World War II, as the U.S. presses for a deal to end the 3-year-old war. Kiev insisted on a longer and immediate truce. The Kremlin said the truce, ordered on, quote, humanitarian grounds, will run from the start of May 8th and last through the end of May 10th to mark Moscow's defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945, Russia's biggest secular holiday. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Elections and Boundaries Commission says it is confident that today's general election will be conducted in a safe environment, as more than 1 million voters cast their ballots for electing a new government in Trinidad and Tobago. The EBC has confirmed its readiness for the elections following extensive planning, rigorous training, and collaboration with stakeholders to execute what is, quote, perhaps the single most logistically complex exercise a country can undertake. The EBC says that all 2,316 polling stations have been established and are equipped with the necessary staffing, materials, and supplies, and that inspections have been conducted to ensure that each location meets high standards of accessibility, functionality, and safety. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born September 25, 1947, at Watering Place, Cayman Brac, Royce Adolphus Dilbert was the firstborn son to Helen and Grace Dilbert, née Tibbets. Mr. Dilbert was a hard-working man who spent numerous years at sea, as well as employing his diverse skill sets on land. In 1979, he would marry Yvette Jackson and took employment with Cayman Brac Power and Light Company in 1981 as chief engineer, where he remained until his retirement in December of 2018. Heavily influenced by his wife, in 1982 he gave his heart to the Lord and joined her at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he later served as interim pastor in 2002 to 2007, becoming pastor in 2017. Mr. Dilbert was a charter member of the Rotary Club of Cayman Brac, served as PTA president at Creek Primary School, worked with the youth in the community, president of the Veterans and Seamen Society, and was a member of the Development and Control Board Cayman Brac until his passing. Royce was a devoted father to 7 children, loved to fish, and had a passion for cars.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Cayman, it's time to paint the town red. Join us for the PPM Final Rally, Tuesday, April 29th, 7 p.m. Compass Green, live entertainment, food, refreshments, and unity. Come one, come all. Bring the family, bring the energy, and be sure to bring the red. Don't take the wrong turn, Cayman. Let's go forward. Vote PPM.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward. We're moving forward. See the light again.
The preceding was a paid political broadcast.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back to Talk Today. This afternoon, it's all about the candidates in the upcoming general election. In our second segment, we welcome back someone who's no stranger to Talk Today. That is none other than West Bay South Independent candidate Sterling Duane Ebanks. Good afternoon. Good to see you in the studio again.
Buenas tardes, mi amigo. Buenas tardes.
So, how are things out there on the campaign trail?
As my friends would say, excellent. I am honored for a number of things. The support of family and friends who are, been my brother support, who have gone out and helped to reach people. There are almost 1,800 voters in West Bay South, but there are almost 100,000 people in this country. And I want us to come together. And what I've witnessed over the last few weeks is something that is encouraging and empowering. But through that engagement, we're seeing people wanting to have their voices heard, their participation not just respected, valued, but know that they can do so and not feel intimidated nor victimized. So to my family and friends who've gone out, no amount of thanks, public or private, can show the genuine appreciation I have for that. Not just the sort of confidence that they have in me, but the willingness for them to participate. Now, one of the things that I think we need to ensure is immediately stop following this election is that semblance, whether it is perceived or real, that people, by either offering up a vacant piece of land, for instance, for candidates, whether team or individual, party or otherwise, to have a meeting, that person somehow, by doing that, is aligned with that group or that individual, and as a consequence is maligned. We can't have a democracy unless we have participation. We won't have active, engaged, informed, beneficial participation unless people feel like they're safe. They feel as if what they're doing is a very deliberate, conscious way to maintain a healthy democracy. Are
you saying that if someone says, you say, okay, you can have your meeting on my piece of land, that you might be open to criticism?
Very much so. Yes, sir. And not just the individual. I'm talking about business owners who are been in business for decades, for instance, whose businesses we frequent. We know those businesses, whether they're in retail or some otherwise. They have expressed having had people make very, passing comments and some very direct. We self-censor, then our words are never heard, our opinions are never shared. If we feel a sense of, and I use the words deliberately, being intimidated or victimized because of our active participation on a platform, whether as candidate or as a supporter, that doesn't bode well for future generations, because then you get to be silenced. But when you have someone who he or she thinks is doing a civic duty by saying, here's a piece of land, come and use it. Here is a location. If you think about it, in Cayman now, the way the political landscape has been physically divided into 19 little chopped up bits and pieces. Everybody knows I'm not in favor of that. I want us to come together. The shirt I'm wearing today says United, right? I wear that as a reminder of what part of the ethos needs to be. We need to come back as a country to welcome all, whether you've been here for generations or decades, or this is your first time voting because you've now come of age and have been registered, or whether it's your first time voting because you've been here for years and years and years and years, but only now become eligible. We all live and work here. Whatever the government does affects us, right? From the PR holder to that generational Caymanian who is nearing her 100th birthday. But we also impact and affect what happens here. This is not naive. This is not idealistic. It is absolutely essential that we are able to consciously recognize the growing division, whether it's along party lines or ethnicity or education or economics, and address that. That is not what a civil society is. That is not the Cayman that I knew, and it is not the Cayman that I want for my grandchildren, for me now, and for me as I age. And if we fail to appreciate that that is happening and be like the ostrich and stick our heads in the sand, it's going to slap us on the six, and it's going to slap us hard. It doesn't have to be. So that's the encouraging part, to see other people understand that, but are willing to stand in the gap and say, well, despite that, now look at the absence of having a space. There are very few buildings and venues where you can have meetings, right? Let's take West Bay, for instance. 4 pieces. And if you want to campaign and canvass in your defined little piece, your little constituency, that's one thing. But if you want to have a meeting to bring people, where are the public spaces, right? If it's a playing field, but that might be in one section and not in another. If it's an open lot, if it's a church hall, there are very few civic buildings. We have the primary school hall, for instance. Those spaces are few and far between, but it's indicative of the importance of having a society that is unified. And then we extend that across all of the districts and across the Cayman Islands, we'll have a unified society. This United on my shirt is from West Bay to West End, right? From Spot Bay to West Bay, from East End. It doesn't matter. We have to come together as a people.
Do you want to return to the multi-member constituencies that we had previously?
The disdain and contempt that some may have for that system. What I'm asking us, and this is why it's important for the elected MPs to openly have a discussion with the public as to what works, right? There are those who are, like me, vehemently opposed to the division that is now in our society. And then there are those who are also opposed to the multi-member. But is it necessary to have a discussion? Yes. Is a system that we have now good, or is there a better one? For instance, I believe, it's just my view, and I'll put it on the table, open for participation, conversation, and a genuine discussion to build consensus, that the vote for cabinet and premier is essential for two reasons. A man can't serve two masters, we were reading the scripture. And that person who is elected, then selected for cabinet, and then elevated to those positions, have constitutional responsibilities for that portfolio, and better do that job as expected, but not as only as defined in those constitutional responsibilities. But if that person doesn't pay attention to the respective constituency that elected that person, the probability of being re-elected is low. Now, there are some who do it, but it's doing a disservice to that person, but also to the country. But more importantly, it's not about that person. It's about what is important and beneficial to the country. So if you are elected and your decisions impact and affect the entire country, should not the country as a whole have a say in that? Now, that may seem novel and innovative, but it's actually sensible, so that we all have a say into what happens, and then it gives a focus on the country and not at the expense of the individual nor the particular district. Other systems exist, but the unwillingness, the lack of political will and courage to at least consider it. See, I'm not intending to be a career politician. When I was coaching, I wanted to have other coaches who could take over, just in case, but also deliberately. When I was managing, I had employees behind. I want them to come up and even take my job, and then I'm made redundant. That is fine, because I've done something for people to uplift them. But if you think about it, if you make a place in your position for somebody to take that position, then you could probably get another position, whether it's across the hall, it's a lateral move, as they say, or it's up the ladder. You need to bring people, right, up, not tear them down, but build them up. And we do that when we have a respectful, right, and reason, deliberate, conscious engagement to ensure that words like empowerment aren't just semantics, they're meaningful, right? I'm happy to see that increasing and growing, happy to see more people appreciating that there are some of us who stand by our convictions, who have that courage. We may be assertive, but we're still respectful. What we're trying to achieve is not to divide, but to unify. And that is the key. A house divided cannot stand.
So you see unifying the country by them, actually, we would have a vote for the cabinet, the ministers that would sit in cabinet?
All right. Yeah, a country voting for the premier and for its cabinet. Now, we've had a conversation. I won't disrespect you to ask you your opinion, because as a host, although you may not enjoy the same level of restrictions that those of us who have signed on as civil servants may have had. So if you wish to voice it, I won't draw inferences.
This is your show.
No. This is our life. This is our community, right? And this is where dialogue is important. I respect your view as you respect mine. We disagree where we have differences, but we agree. And I think our consensus is that we want a greater level of participation, accountability, openness, and transparency. We don't want them just to be words, but we want that engagement by the populace to be such that it's as instructive and as informative, and it comes from a level of being, quote unquote, educated about what is transpiring, so that when they speak and they know that their opinions at that point may be the only publicly expressed opinion at that time on that thing. But it's probably one or two or 1,000 more who think that way, but didn't feel empowered and encouraged to say so. I'm willing to be the tip of the spear, as it were, because it doesn't matter to me at the end of the day whether you are from one part of Grand Cayman or you live in the Sister Islands. If you are in this country, then your contribution is as equal as somebody else, in the sense that you should have the same level of unfettered access to the Radio Cayman, True Talk Today, and the airwaves. The only ask is that you say and do and act in a respectable, responsible way. If you don't recognize that you'll be held to account, well, you will. But you must be able to share your views.
So you want a national election for premier
and cabinet.
And the cabinet.
Tell me why you disagree with that.
Well, suppose you put in a premier who is completely opposed to the ministers that you've given that person to work with.
Okay, so it's not about them. Suppose that happens.
What? Okay. Isn't there going to be a lot of conflict?
No, it doesn't have to be. This is about consensus building, right? It's about understanding that the role isn't about you. It's about, take the manager, right? The manager has, in a private entity, not the manager who is the sole proprietor of that business. You're now hired by a conglomerate, international, entity.
Mm-hmm. They put you in as manager to run
that
their
division, that business, right? So this is the private sector. Let's use it as an example. You're gonna have a bunch of employees, some who you don't know. You got to get to know. You got to understand what motivates them, what incentivizes them. You got to understand how you can get them on board to share the vision of the entity that's hired you. Presumably, they hired you because they believe out of all the applicants, you bring that best opportunity to align those synergies to achieve those objectives, right?
And that you have a vision for their company.
And that vision that you have for their company is one that they can buy into. But more than likely,
if you're vice president of sales or something, doesn't think that your vision is right.
No, but you probably
as that general manager, you tell that guy, listen, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? If you are hired, you're probably hired because whatever you present in that interview that gives you that edge has aligned with those who are hiring because it's now shared by the ethos of the company, right? And then you go out and your colleagues, those employees that are now sort of, report to you, you get them to align, you get them motivated, you use as much the card and the incentives to get them there. They're going to have different views. They may have not just different views altogether, but different views how to get to the same outcome. You identify that you're on the same page in terms of what your objective is, and you have to manage them. It's not just a title, it's an act. That's no different from the corporate entity as it is in the public political domain. Under our constitution, the sitting premier, like the prime minister in an independent nation like the UK, under which we are governed under the system of the parliament that we see where
Westminster.
Where the Westminster model is the order of the day. The premier in our country has power to hire and fire a cabinet, but won't do so willy-nilly, not because it's an instability, but because it's understanding that difference comes through negotiation and navigating and trying to achieve an outcome. So if, in your example, there's a ballot, right, and we hire by voting for the selected ministers and the premier, that premier ends up with others who are of disparate views, but we're supposed to be mature and sensible and reasonable, rational, civil people, right? The best example, we've all sat on committees, and the chairman of that committee is expected to build consensus, to be able to invite contributions and conversations from all the other committee members, and then you come down to a decision. What is best for that sports club, that church council, that particular group, whether it's a statutory authority, and you make a decision. You have a governing sort of structure, whether it's legislation or policy or your constitution. It's no different. And then a decision is made. We make it more complicated and convoluted than it is. And in so doing, we are actually sharing to the public that we have no competence nor confidence in those people that we've elected. We believe that they're going to be unreasonable, dysfunctional, disruptive, and they're going to end up in just disagreement. I have a different view. It's not just because I'm positive and optimistic. I actually enjoy sitting amongst groups where I know the views are different. It isn't a challenge. It's actually essential that you allow those voices to be heard. Hosting a talk show has given me one of the greatest gifts, and it's the reminder how important it is to be an active, engaged listener, to appreciate that you can use your soapbox to beat people over the head and only end up in speaking into a void, or you can actually listen and invite people to facilitate discussion so that you get people to a space. That is what I said earlier. As much as I've seen people and listen to them and express concern that they are being, made to feel away, our local parlance, where they allow their space, whether it's an empty lot in another district from which they live, to be disparaged because they're now seemingly perceived to be aligned with this group that's using that, right? If we bring people to the table, have them share their views, and in canvassing, getting to places both directly and by others who have done it on my behalf, they've come back and recognized that the one thing that I'm trying to achieve for this country, I don't want us to be a moral victory, because you play football, you lose by 10-0 or 1-0, you still lost, right? This isn't about a moral victory. This is about unifying the country and seeing that people are coming to appreciate that I'll champion that need to come together. I recognize that we all understand the issues, right? We know the problems. We just need to be able to agree on what the best possible solution. And to have more and more people feel supported, feel encouraged by somebody. And I'm honored that this is the first time where I go, somebody needs to do something, and I'm somebody. So just like on the manifesto, if not now, when? If not me, who? That's a clarion call for all of us, because we are individual somebodies. And this is it. You just think back to as a child, and your daddy comes and stops next to you. That thing that you play do, just because your dad is there, you feel he can do it, right? You know that he's there to support you. He's there to encourage you, right? When you fall, your mom picks you up and helps you. That pain goes away. There was no antibiotic, no band-aid, but right? Song, say a prayer for the world. For only love can save us now. And that's the agape love that we are increasingly lacking. But I'm thankful we're starting to see more and more. Charlo, this can be done.
Do you feel the same way about political parties that are divisive?
Is the loyalty to the party or to the country?
Well, to the ideas that are there.
You see, we have a system that has been foisted upon us, and there are many of us who subscribe to political parties, either because of our education and exposure and experience from other jurisdictions, and we've come here. Maybe because of our personal study. What I'm saying is that if we look at the partisan nature of our politics, it doesn't have to be parochial. And especially in a small space like Cayman, small in terms of its physical size, but small in terms of its population. We need a leadership that is decisive, that's representative, that is sufficiently humble, has that sense of humility to be able to listen. But then when a decision is taken, it isn't taken because it is politically expedient or convenient. Those hard decisions. Take, for instance, right now, what do we know publicly? Well, the Auditor General just said, and I rounded off to $1 billion of expenditure in the last 2 years. Where has that money gone? If you look in West Bay, well, a drain fixed, 2 speed bumps there, and only piece of road patched. I don't know about you, but I checked my bank account the other day. I don't have $1 billion. And I can times it by 1 million, and I still wouldn't have $1 billion. Money spent must be value for money. But money spent that is not yours, money spent that hampers future generations because of excessive debt, doesn't put a country well financially, right? But it's also important that your leadership is able to commit the country to things, knowing that those things that the country is going to do will not just affect people now, but generations, whether that's legislation or the construction of some structure, the expenditure of money that's incurred, the debt, the diverting of revenue from project A to project B, the suspension of a policy or an implementation policy. Those things cannot be politically convenient and expedient. They have to be things that with a political will and the courageousness to appreciate that it may or may not translate into a victory at the next polls. It is not about the next election. It's not even about the next generation.
Would you prefer to see 10 independents get into Parliament?
We keep looking.
Come Wednesday?
We keep looking at that, and I'm encouraged by a couple of things. One, the willingness of all of those who are contesting a seat. And I want to thank them for having the courage to step up, whatever their motivations. It's not easy. May I liken it to hosting the show? Many of us think hosting this show is easy. You just talk. It's as easy as they think, right?
It's not that easy.
All right. So if you, let's say he who feels it knows it, right? If you don't know something. So for them to step up, I'm glad, not just for the public meetings, but going and knocking on doors, for actually going, and for me, being in the public domain and having your picture taken. What you wear, how you say something. I like when I hear people from different countries speak. One of the things I always enjoy with Radio Cayman was right after our news, the Caribbean parliaments would come on. And you would hear the Bahamian as the Barbadian, the person from Trinidad, and the slight difference from the person from Guyana. Although my Guyanese friends would tell me there's a big difference, right? But for the on-train air, you can't tell the St. Vincent and the Jamaican. Right? When you hear the different parliaments, you realize how beautiful that sounds, right? But if you emphasize and truly look at it, you'll recognize that we are more alike than we are different, right? So to answer you, there's going to be a coalition government. Will it be led by one grouping or another? But the beautiful thing is that all of them have reached out and said, listen, we can trust you, right? We can work with you because we understand that your heart and soul is for and with the Cayman people. What I would like us to do is have competent people. I want our voters to go in the 19 constituencies and freely and fairly cast their ballots, knowing, as I do, we can have absolute confidence in the competence of the elections officials, the volunteers included, as the paid staff, but also confidence in the confidentiality of marking our ballots. And as a consequence, the voters will decide the 19th. I'm asking not just the voters in West Bay South to vote for me. Not because, of any reason other than I have the confidence in ensuring that we come together. I have the competence in doing the job. Trouble don't blow, shall we say. I don't need to brag about my academic credentials. I've demonstrated a number of things in hosting this show. Not just only a willingness to listen, but actually to understand. A desire to facilitate. But when I disagree with you, I can do so in an assertive but respectful manner. When you, not just you personally, when you say something that I go, okay, I can take that on board, but I'm not going to just kowtow because you when I say, they come that ugly to frighten her. We need to have that love, but we also need to have that empathy and that confidence that when we stand for what is meaningful.
But back to the unity and the divisiveness of parties, would you like to see a coalition of independents rather than a coalition of parties?
I would like to see the voters select who they feel is best. I'm confident that all who are elected will see the importance of working together. If we are genuine and committed in our hearts as to what is essential for this country that's best, they'll work it out. The disparaging way that we look at parties as we look at independence is on us. I believe that my participation, if I'm honored and the privilege to be there, will bring people together. The system that we have now, we have parties contesting in large numbers. The probability that one get a larger number than the other is statistical analysis. The probability that one party may have a convincing majority, you'll only know that result at the end of the day. What I'm committing to is working with integrity, with consciousness, and deliberateness with whoever is elected to ensure that the next 4 years sets us for the next 40. That the next 4 years of government expenditure, borrowings are necessary, decisions that are taken consciously with a political will to put this country, not just financially, but socially, path to maintaining this stability. And that growth divide cannot and should not be something that is defined by the political parties or as a consequence of our alliances. It has to be one Cayman. A Cayman where we can agree, not just to disagree, but we have an agreement. The agreement must be for what is best for the country, from its financial expenditures to the social policies, from public spaces that are enjoyed by all, by the success to the beaches. You think that first time voter, whether that person is just of age or that person only requires after a period of residency and living status, and you are first time voter at 18, 38. you impact this country as the country has impacted you. I want us to know, at least I know, that the way I think and what I've done for almost too clear. I hide on this job. I'm not here, you know. Right? And when I'm here, you actually know what kind of day I'm having. We all don't have days, you know, right? As many as I've had, and thank God I have had many great days, what I do have is an ability to get job done and do it with as much respect, resolve, resilience, but also the reassurance that there are people who are there to nurture if you're willing to listen and take on board. You have the humility to ask for help, but the good sense to accept the help that is being offered.
We're going to hear more from Sterling Duane Ebanks, but first we have to take this break.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit caymanairways.com/cargo.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
Cruise lines control how passengers spend their money, from shopping on board to taking the lion's share of pre-booked tours. That means less business for Cayman's tour operators and retailers. A pair won't change that. Instead, it just gives cruise corporations a bigger stake in Cayman's tourism industry. If we want a stronger economy, we need better deals for Caymanians, not more power for cruise lines. Vote no on April 30th.
Cayman's economy should serve Caymanians first. Save our Cayman. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Calling all residents of Grand Cayman and the Sister Islands to catch a ride on the Purple Train. The Cayman Islands National Party invites you to attend their finale party rallies for one last chance to celebrate the party and their vision of unity, prosperity, and hope. The celebration begins with all 12 candidates in Cayman Brac on Saturday, 26 April at house number 396, The Creek, starting at 6:30 p.m. and then continues in Grand Cayman on Monday, 28th April at A.L. Thompson's parking lot, Georgetown, starting at 7 p.m. There will be food, music, and live entertainment. Don't miss this chance to jump on the Purple Train and celebrate with the CINP. We look forward to seeing you there. This ad is sponsored by the Cayman Islands National Party.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back to Talk Today, and we'll continue to hear now from Duane Ebanks. He's the independent candidate for West Bay South. We were talking about parties and that they divide the country. If you are successful and say a party needed one more person to make that 10th seat and they invited you, would you join a party or join up with a party?
Yeah, what is important to recognize is that if we as elected people understand and respect the voters and our role, there has to be consultation in order for them to participate. The pulse of this country is one that we're looking for elected MPs to actually serve the interests of the country and to be united in working for the betterment of the country. And understanding also that whatever a government in its 4 years does, in many cases cannot be undone. Whatever money is borrowed for a capital project, that physical structure is probably going to be there for decades. But like as alleged in this last 2 years in particular, when money is borrowed just to live on, much like a person who will go into overdraft to maintain a particular lifestyle, the government has to be responsible. And those who want to distance themselves because it wasn't me, you weren't at the helm, you were. You can't be a lazy parent. You can't look at what's happening in your household as a father and not take responsibility for what happens there. Just like a parliamentarian in cabinet cannot say it wasn't me. So for me, what I want us to do is to go to the polls, mark our ballots when the 19 are elected, and I am one of them. If I'm given that honor and that privilege, rest assured that the discussions and the decisions won't be made because of political expediency and convenience. They'll be made with the intent that 19 people have been elected, somehow have been selected to cabinet, and the role that is going to have to be played relative to the finances, that level of fiscal prudence and responsibility. We need people who have courage, who have the academic wherewithal, but who understands the importance of value for money, but also the impact of our decisions. So I'm not looking to get elected and be elected. If we do not have a government that understands and appreciates, one, the importance of its actions now and for future, and the need to ensure that decisions are made are in the best interests of all of us. Because I don't have any ulterior motives. Friend says I wear my heart on my sleeve. With me, you know what you get. What you see is what you get. And that is evident, as we shared earlier. There are very few jobs where you know when the person's at work and when you know they're not, but also we know that when they're at work, they're doing a good job. I have not been elected to the legislative assembly or parliament, as we call it now, but I've engaged and interacted with them. I've demonstrated the same skill sets that they should have when it comes to not just building consensus, but being able to read, research, and understand, not regurgitate what's important. So for me, this election, like any, very crucial. This more so than others. We've seen a growing voters. So we've seen a growing population. If you listen to everybody, from that elderly grandmother to that teenager on the cusp of adulthood, to those who've been here for generations, to those who've been here for decades, to those who have voted for the last elections long and I've been alive, to some who is their first time, they all are concerned about this country, its economic stability, its social stability. We know that housing, not just affordability and our structure, but its access, availability. We know that issues that are important from healthcare to education, we understand the real issue, but do we have the political will to engage and to do something? The answers lie, you just need to have people who are willing to lead the charge and to be like the father, that champion for the child, that protector, that provider, who understands that what you do in rearing a child affects that child now and that child's future. And that is what the parliamentarians need as an example. So for me, the district councils, I left the in the car. I ran in 1986. Very much younger then, right? And I talked about district councils then. We had a council implemented in 2009 where it was said we have to have the district councils. To hear an incumbent talk about we need a district council yesterday or no, you've had a chance, you haven't done it because you don't want it. You either don't have the ability or more likely you have the district council is essential to allow the voters in the district to have a say and have participation. There are those who do not wish to be elected to parliament, but they want to have a say in their country. And as the key for West Bay South, I'm committing with the other three that we can have one district council for West Bay, irrespective of the political, in sort of 4 constituencies, because it's one West Bay. Walk around any part of the Cayman Islands, but let's look at West Bay in particular. This house next door to the house that is divided either by a hedge, a boundary fence, or sometimes nothing. The yards you can't differentiate because the houses are close together and the 2 lawns flow. But one is in West Bay South and one is in West Bay Central. Now it might be a little bit easier to identify because the road going into that subdivision, one is on one side of the road, one's on the other side. But they're brothers and sisters, they're neighbors. And, between front door to front door, you may have 40 feet separating them. But they're in 2 different political constituencies. Okay, leave that as is. If that's the ethos and the desire of the populace, fine. But we work together as a country. And that brings us to a space that if you are living and working in this country and you're impacted and affected by what the country does through its legislation, and you also affect what happens in the country in terms of its political, social, and otherwise, come together and let's work. Because over time that we see that we're more like, as are, we work for the betterment of the country. Hence the long-term approach of all policies. But it starts with the immediate implementation, adopt, and unifying attempt to bring us to the table. District council is but one of those things. We said about it, talking about housing, for instance. Ideas like 100% financing is great, but can the person qualify because of the price? If they do, can the person then actually find something to buy because it's available? Issues are not that difficult to identify. The solutions are at hand, and we use a collective approach. We've shared that the country has had 2 great examples where the precedent exists that we can reach out. Now, in sort of a computing terms, we talk about crowdsourcing. But if we do the same using the Vision 2008 example and what we did with our health strategic plan, we bring the country to the table to find solutions that are not just viable, they're actually possible, right, to be implemented immediately. I want us to look at a few things and borrowing again from the example of the private sector consultative committee that existed before. I shared this with others, I shared it publicly, and I just repeat it again. If we finally name a ministry and keep it constant, so the names of the ministries reflect priorities of the country, and then with each successive ministry, we create little pins of people who either through invitation or who through their offering will be a part of a group to advise that ministry. We have the parliamentary secretaries, we have the civil service, but if we engage wider community, we actually have more voices added. One person making a decision only consult with one person. So that may be politically expedient. But if you have more hands on deck, we can actually get more done back to where politicians as manager, as facilitator, with the sense of good sort of constitution to invite participation and to listen, but to be decisive enough to look at it and say, this is a good idea, this is a better one. Or between the two, you come something different. So the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development would bring on board a number of people who help with that. The Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure, where you're looking at your planning and development, where you're looking at your roads and other infrastructure projects from sewage to water, and then things that are nationally impacting us. From your Ministry of Immigration and Culture, you'll bring people into your country, and the work of immigration to ensure that your population is growing in a way that is beneficial today and long term. But the needs of the Caymanian school leaver, this from high school or university, we have works agencies in the country, but they can't be aligned with an immigration function that is perceived to be a revenue measure when the training and needs of the community through the required skill sets, the navigating of applications for employment, those two seemingly conflict. Agencies like DCFS and others who serve the interests of the country maybe need to be realigned, re-energized, so that the shared outcome is to the betterment of the country not just maintaining its stability and social harmony, but giving them a sense of hope that they're being supported, that they understand what is needed and how to get there, because not all of us are born with all the knowledge. We acquire it over time. The one thing that we have over our children who are much more educated than us is we have life experience. We're a little bit older than they are. Let's benefit from that.
We're coming on about 10 minutes left in the show. Let's say, or for the segment, let's say you are successful, you're put into Parliament, you're invited to be a part of a coalition. Maybe they even offer you a ministry in order to get you to come and join them. We got to take a break, but think about this while we're. What are the first things you're giving the opportunity to solve some things as a minister or as part of a government?
Yeah.
What are the things that you're going to do first off? What are the priorities that you're going to take to attack? We'll get the answer right after this.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
The following is a paid political message.
Hi, this is Ralston Anglin, inviting you to my final campaign rally on Tuesday, April 29th at the Cayman Turtle Center's parking lot at 7 p.m. Come on out for an evening filled with lively endorsements, entertainment, and light refreshments. Please vote number 1, Ralston Anglin for West Bay North.
That was a paid political message.
Looking to transform your space? From custom homes to commercial spaces, we bring your vision to life with precision, quality, and elegance. At Mike's Builders, we make it happen.
Mike's Builders turned my dream home into a reality. Their team is professional, efficient, and truly the best in the business. Good communication? Check. Cleanliness? Check. Professionalism? On point. You have to try Mike's Builders for yourself.
Call us today at 923-0706. That's 923-0706. Mike's Builders. Let's build a beautiful world together.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit CaymanAirways.com/cargo.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I am Perlina Magal-Lumsden and am committed to putting Georgetown West first. I will be accessible, hardworking, and always ready to serve you. As your PPM representative, I will fight to ease the cost of living, secure affordable housing, empower our young people, and improve care for our seniors, because you deserve the very best in Georgetown West. On April 30th, vote for strong, compassionate leadership. Vote Perlina Magal-Lumsden for Georgetown West.
Freedom, Cayman Brac. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
Building a cruise pier means years of construction, traffic congestion, business closures, and lost jobs. And for what? A project that mainly benefits the cruise lines? Local businesses, tour operators, and family-run shops will feel the impact long before any promised gains materialize. Why should Cayman take on the risk while cruise companies take the reward? Vote no on April 30th.
Caymanians deserve better. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back, and I'm talking to Duane Ebanks, and I'd asked you before we went to the break, if you had the opportunity to be in a government, what are the priorities that you would set down to attack first?
I think we need to recognize that housing, cost of living, healthcare and education, or infrastructure, they're not competing issues because they all speak to the same thing, the quality of life. And if we can get to a table to understand social stability, they're being united as a trying to unifying voice that moves us in that is positive and active. Give our people a sense of purpose and full expectation. The dream that I had as a child and that I have for generations. Invest in our country. Physically be able to own home shouldn't be a lofty, unattainable ideal. It should actually be possible. The need for collaboration, cooperation among the 19 elected. I appreciate you. That's all that's unquestionable. Well, how would you work? It's about consensus. It's about not being adamant or indignant, insistent, dogmatic, but it's about being grounded. Appreciate that the is being on Wednesday or a win in the next action, but a win for posterity. If your legacy is one that built consensus, you did things that did people did in a positive way, but also generations. I want to live in Cayman forever. I'm honored that there are people who have opted to come and to remain in Cayman, and when you see pictures on their homelands, they're absolutely beautiful. But there's something in their minds of more appeal, not just the financial success I may offer, it's the safety, it's the sense of community. And if we keep that to the fore of our minds and we maintain that, then Cayman will be a great place not just to live and invest, just to retire and raise a family. Cayman will be a place where we have the best quality of life. So the next parliamentarians, my commitment to them is for us to look closely and honest, openly at our finances. Get a hand on what that looks like. Be appreciative that decisions have to be taken, but taken with a humanity, a sense of respect and responsibility. But as we do what needs to be done, we do build in on each successive government, each successive sort of budgetary cycle. I've said forever, and I say it publicly, the country should have a 100-year plan. With a simple that, respectfully, as much as I would like to, neither of us be here in physical form. But our decisions, as decisions, will affect future generations. As parents, we know how to treat our children affect them, and sadly, affect their children and grandchildren. The psychologists tell us that. So, impact be in that 100-year plan. If we get into little 5 tranches, 20, and that further broken down into iterations of 5, we have a living, breathing, working formula that responds to the growing need of a community with a shared vision to what